All right, let's give this another shot. There's got to be a more structured way to make this work, but I guess. All right, the Bankster Scam. Okay, we're going to do. Let's see if we can figure this out. First of all, I'm going to go back to this. The U.S. government has 8,134 metric tons of gold reserves, supposedly. And here's my question. How much of those reserves did we have to use in order to build America and create the system? Zero, right? You don't use any of it, right? In fact, we just close the gold window, say forget it. We're going to do the same thing with our intentional network effect business community. We're going to have $2 billion in reserves based on 1 million gold Krugerrands, which will be in our safes. Anyway, put that aside for now. So the banker scam. All right, so let's say here's a little town with one banker in his big house, and there's going to be 10 houses built. They're each $100,000 houses, and so you can put down 10 grand and to borrow the rest, and roughly all things being equal over 30 years, let's just call it double, right? Depending on your interest rates and so on. But you figure 100,000 goes to principal, 100,000 goes to interest. So if there's 10 houses, then the banker, so basically it's one for you, one for him, right? For every house that you work hard enough to buy one house, you just bought the banker a house. So what did the banker do? He did basically a tiny bit of accounting, right? He basically sent you the bill. So over 30 years, so each time you buy a house for you, you're buying one for him. So now the banker has 10 houses. Now how does he come up with the money, which he does not have, right? So the instant, let's say it all happens in one day. 10 guys come in for 10 houses. They each give $10,000 down. So now the banker's got $100,000 and he's got 10 promissory notes. So he's got 10 guys that have promised to work for him for 30 years and send so much money to the bank every single month for the next 30 years. And if anything goes wrong, the banker gets the house in collateral, right? So far the deal is, you get one, I get one. The banker gets a house, you get a house. You're basically working enough to build and buy two houses, one for you, one for him. Now the banker takes the promises. Now remember, the banker doesn't have to wait 30 years, right? The instant the ink is not even dry on the contract, the banker goes to the head coordinator of the scam and he says, well, look, I've got this many people promising to do this much work, so I want the money to execute the loans to give to the builder. So then the builder gets the money, builds the houses, and so on. So the banker has got a hell of a deal here, right? He didn't actually need any money. He created the money afterwards. It's not like, in your mind, you might think, okay, in order to finance or get 10 houses built, the banker would have to work his balls off. Maybe he can work really fast and can build one house a year. Let's say takes 2,000 hours to build a house, and one guy can do it by himself in 1 year. So a house a year. So the banker has to work 10 years to build 10 houses, and then he can sell them, right? No, that's not how it works, right? He just gets 10 suckers to promise to pay him for the next 10 years. Now, then the banker gets to spend the equivalent of 10 houses immediately. He doesn't have to wait. So he goes out and he buys this huge he buys $1 million yacht that afternoon, right? As soon as he has his 10 mortgage notes, he's out shopping for a new yacht, man. Or maybe he figures he'll do this tomorrow, so he'll borrow on the yacht. He'll just put $1 million down on the yacht, and he'll get a $10 million yacht. So, okay, so what happens when things get more efficient? Okay, so the banker, you realize he's getting half for doing almost nothing. Now remember this little example. You can go to a Subway sandwich shop in the United States and get a $5 footlong for $5, right? You can give them a check for $5 and they give you a sandwich. Now in Florida now, they charge you $5 for cashing a check. So you go to the bank and all they do is cash the check. No fucking sandwich, and that costs you $5. That's how these banksters operate, right? They can't even throw in a sandwich with the deal. So I want to explain to you, some people say, oh, well, look, all I want is my little piece, and, you know, I'm not asking for the world. I don't need a yacht. Just give me my little piece. You are the ones that are fucking it up for everybody because the way the banker scam works. So let's say we make things more efficient. And now you can build 2 houses at the same time with the same amount of labor as what it took to build one. So now all the houses will be half price and you will have to work half as much to buy a house, right? Of course not. Do you think a guy who has originally struck a deal where I get one, you get one, you work your balls off to own your first home, and I get a whole home, you think he's going to pass those savings on to you? No, the banker does the pie division, right? So when it comes time to slice up the pie through this complex math formula of interest rates and so on, so here's your pie and your little piece here, the banker is going to make sure that your pie slice never gets bigger, right? And in fact, because of insatiable greed and because the scam doesn't have a limiter, right? There's no way for them to steal less tomorrow. So your piece of pie is going to shrink, all things being equal. I'm not saying there's not richer people or harder working or some people who manage to navigate the system better than others. But for most people, most of the slices of pie is going to get smaller every year, forever and ever and ever. And you're thinking, God damn, that fucking sucks. So what happens? Well, either they get mad and they shoot people, right? Or there's some distraction, a war or something. But what we need to do is understand the scam and make sure there's a way to either put a limit on it or end the scam completely. Now, the best way to end a scam is to do what I call the crossover system, which simply means you cross over to a new system. You take your loan, and instead of giving it to the bankster, you start your own Federal Reserve in this case, right? So we'll start our own the crossover bank, let's say, right? Crossover bank. And we can't create money, right? We're going to have to take, I want to call them donations. We're going to have to take Bitcoin, BTC, Bitcoin, and other currencies donated by our member network, and we're going to use that to build the houses and just basically change the fundamental system altogether. And we have to do everything internally and try to never touch US dollars or any fiat currency, right? So we're only going to use hard money, and we're going to self-finance all of our own projects. We don't have to do everything all at once. We can start in little tiny baby steps. We can start by just having a co-op build our own, let's say, email system or our own communication system, so we can build the rest of the system without telling these guys or the boys at Google or the NSA or anybody who's, it's absolutely none of their fucking business, right? So we're going to build this co-op as a business, 100% legit business, and we're going to take this banker scam concept and we're going to put it under the rug, under the table. I'm not going to tell anybody about it. Once you've signed up and learned it, there's no point in blabbering this all over the world. But fundamentally, we know that's the problem we're correcting. And once we get the majority of the world's population into this system, then the old system will become pointless and it'll be over, right? The old system also, there's no way to buy corporate jets, really, in this system, because it's just nobody's going to finance it for you, right? Whereas this one, you don't ask. This banker doesn't ask for permission to buy $1 million yacht, right? He gets the cash and go anywhere you want. This system, since you're going to borrow from your own bank, when you try to borrow to buy a yacht or a plane, anyway, that's why this system is environmentally friendly. Doesn't mean you can't be rich and wealthy and charge as much as you want for any service you want. It just means if you're working within our business community, that you're going to have to run by the rules of the business community. So we'll have both systems. Right? Crossover system is our cooperative or our community, and the old system is this extreme rip-off system. So anytime you can make more money in the extreme rip-off system, go ahead and do that. Like Jeff Bezos or something. He's doing great with the old system. So it makes total sense for him to keep doing what he's doing. For you, if you're an inventor and you're like, oh, I got an idea for a new product. Let's say, oh, here's one. I'll give you this one for free. It's basically a ball with a solenoid pin in it. You put a ball in there, or 20 balls, and this fires at random, and it launches the ball out, and your dog runs after it, and your dog loves this thing. Let's say we want to sell these for $20 a piece. Let's say it's going to cost, I don't know, $1 million worth of development, marketing, and all that shit, and you're going to sell them on Amazon, right? So you can go and you can do this whole thing the old-fashioned way, right? You can go do your own market research and build it, front everything yourself, and sell this many and keep all the money. Or you can borrow from a venture capitalist, and maybe you get to keep 20% of the money or something. But you get the thing built. Or you can use the co-op system. Be like, well, look, we already know how many of our members have a dog. We might even know how many members have a dog that like chasing balls. And then you can just send them an email, anybody want one of these things. And then you can calculate the cost, and you already have the orders in, so there's really no marketing. And then you can say, well, I want a cost plus. I want to be able to make this much. And you're going to have a machine shop or whatever inside of our network, give you the quotes and so on. And then you get rewarded for making this great invention for our co-op. And the co-op will own it because they paid for everything, right? They had the customer list, they had the all of it. But you, the innovator, the guy with the idea, and the person who made it all happen, using the co-op, you get rewarded. Right? Maybe you get rewarded a shitload. I don't know exactly how that part works. But I think as an inventor, you'll love it because it takes all the headaches out. It makes it far more likely that your product will actually get built and finished and improved and run forever. So that's basically how we're going to, quick review of the crossover system. So every year with this system, with our business community, all the efficiencies, so let's say we can build a house with half as much labor as the year before, all that gets passed down. So our pie for our members, our pie is always getting bigger. All right, that's the slice this year, a couple of years from now, pie gets bigger. Why? Because for the same amount of labor, 1,000 hours of labor, we're going to get next year twice as much done, 3 times, 4 times. The pie keeps getting bigger through efficiencies. And your piece of that pie keeps getting bigger because we're working together to make fucking awesome pie, man. Whereas this system, hey, the bank can't blame the banker, man. He's greedy. He wants a lot. He wants all the pie. He has figured out that he gets to cut the pie. You don't have any choice. And he's always going to give himself all of it. And he's going to give you barely enough to survive. Because remember, he also has kids. So even if he's greedy, even if he's not the greediest fuck in the world, his kids want everything he had and more. And then they're going to have kids, and they're going to want more. So we have an exponential, corporate jet problem here, or private jet problem. All righty? Peace.